Do you know the country of your favorite K-pop singers, BTS, is the poorest? 60% of North Koreans are living in absolute poverty, which equates to 15 million population. An estimated $1,700 in GDP per person would be among the lowest GDPs in the entire world. Why is that so? Let's find out. The Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, often referred to as North Korea, is an isolated and closely regulated command economy. Every communist nation has a command economy as a fundamental element. In a command economy, the government centrally plans and manages the economy. What should be produced, how much should be produced, and how much should be sold are all decisions made by the administration of North Korea. Is North Korea's command economy beneficial to the overall growth of the country? Let's dive into the details to identify the answer. Before going into detail, let me tell you an earlier story about North Korea. A brief history of North Korea. Korea was formerly a sovereign nation, but the Korean peninsula was formally conquered by the Japanese after the Russo-Japanese War. From 1905 to 1945, Korea remained a Japanese colony. Following World War II, the Soviet Union won the surrender of the Japanese forces in Korea's north, and Soviet forces seized control of the area. At the same time, American troops grabbed control of the southern region. The newly divided areas chose their own leaders, and in 1950, North Korean leader Kim Il-sung attempted to seize the Republic of Korea, ROK, which was supported by the United States. This action sparked the Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. The repercussions of the war are so significant that they frequently serve as a dividing line between historical eras. Because of the devastation caused by the war, new political institutions had to be established in order to rebuild society and regain lost income. Industrialization. After the former kingdom was divided, industry ruled the early stages of North Korea's economic developments. Considering the harm the nation's infrastructure endured during the Korean War, this was a challenging task. North Korea adopted the highly centralized socialist economy of the Soviet Union and the Jewish ideology, self-reliance. This model placed a strong emphasis on developments in the iron, steel, cement, and machine tool industries, as well as the growth of the heavy industry. Jewish was described by Kim as the independent posture of rejecting dependency on others and of employing one's own strengths, trusting in one's own might, and exhibiting the communist ideology of self-reliance. Though some individuals may argue that the Soviet or Chinese ways are superior, he asserted, "Have we not come to the point where we can establish our own direction? Have these policies proved to be good for the economy?" Many analysts think that the North Korean administration's actions, which started in the years following the Korean War, have hampered the nation's economic growth. The regime's emphasis on Songun, a form of military-first politics which had exacerbated North Korea's ongoing economic issues, brought attention to the inadequacies of these programs. The industrial and power output of the area has consistently stalled the generation since the Korean War. However, this is not the end. The worst part is yet to come. The economy collapsed in the 1990s. In the 1990s, the North Korean economy experienced one of the worst periods of doldrums and imploded. North Korea entered a financial crisis as a result of the fall of the Soviet Union, which was followed by a food crisis caused by a string of natural catastrophes, including hailstorms in 1994, floods from 1995 to 1996, and droughts in 1997. The nation's average yearly growth rate between 1990 and 1998 was negative 4.1%. Beginning in the middle of the 1990s, the nation started receiving foreign food aid and emergency assistance. The aid is still being provided today. The collapse of Soviet Union. With the fall of the Soviet Union in December 1991, the Cold War came to an end. The world had been waiting for this moment, but while Moscow was torn apart and the West was jubilant, there was one nation where the fall of the USSR only incited terror. Of course, I'm referring to North Korea, where people are not surprisingly worried that they would soon suffer the same fate. Food crisis. The Arduous March, also known as the March of Suffering by North Koreans, was one of the harshest famines in the poor country, killing countless people. Beginning in 1995, food shortages continued until 1999 as the result of the North Korean regime's poor management of its economic system, the probation of economic assistance from the Soviet Union following its collapse, and a series of floods and droughts that resulted in a drastic decrease in crop production. Although the precise number of people who died from famine at that time is unknown, Analysts have estimated that it was in the hundreds of thousands to the millions. An attempt to advance. North Korea developed new strategies for reviving its infrastructure in the 2000s. As a part of a set of economic changes known as Economic Management Improvement Measures, it loosened several limitations in 2002 to permit semi-private marketplaces. Some of these actions included raising prices as well as wages, changing the cost process, altering the distribution system, decentralizing national planning, increasing the independency of enterprises, opening the allocation industry to production methods, distinguishable dissemination, and reforming the social safety net. For a few decades, economic growth increased. This time was viewed as an upgrade over the preceding 10 years. North Korea saw average annual growth of 2.2% between 2000 and 2005. The GDP. The CIA's World Factbook, which hasn't provided any updated GDP data since 2015, places the gross domestic product, GDP of North Korea, at an estimated $40 billion. North Korea has $1,700 per person GDP, according to statistics. Agriculture makes up 22.5% of the GDP, industry makes up 47.6%, and services make up 29.6%. North Korea's reliance on China. North Korea's main commercial partner is China. In an effort to prevent a government collapse and a refugee rush across its 870-mile border, it has supported Kim Jong-un's dictatorship and imposed tough international sanctions against North Korea. China is North Korea's primary source of both economic and diplomatic support. Nearly 86% of North Korea's exports went to China in 2017. Metalworking, mineral, manufacturing, textile, agricultural, and fisheries items are the principal exports of the nation. Petroleum, cooking coal, machinery, equipment, textiles, and grain are North Korea's primary imports. In 2017, China supplied more than 90% of the region's total imports. The economy of North Korea nowadays. The North Korean economy saw one of the most tumultuous years in the previous 10 years in 2021. Even in the best of circumstances, the veracity of market pricing information from North Korea is difficult. This is even more true given the regime's stringent border controls during COVID-19. But a closer look at this data indicates that while there was no immediate danger, a sizable portion of the population was dealing with the worsening food situation. It's doubtful that this will alter in the upcoming year. Given that in a parliamentary report, the majority of North Koreans beyond the aristocracy are likely aware of rising food prices and shortages of common necessities. There are several explanations for this. Although North Korea's international commerce is tiny in comparison to that of most other nations, essential supplies like agricultural machinery and fertilizer regularly need to be imported from abroad. This is also true of a huge number of industrial supplies and inputs that are currently mostly unavailable as a result of the border closure. Additionally, the border restriction has frequently made it technically infeasible to import food and other consumer products, as well as to smuggle them. Final word. The North Korean economy faced tremendous challenges in 2021, but it persevered and averted a full-fledged calamity. Kim Jong-un warned in April 2021 that another arduous march, the regime's euphemism for the 1990s period of economic collapse and hunger, was possible. This was probably more about moderating expectations than forecasting a full-fledged famine, and the plenary report had a similar goal. The government appears to foresee no dramatic improvements in economic conditions over the next year, making goals both hazy and low. The economic downturn and food scarcity are likely to persist into the present year. That was all from our side. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Also, subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Leave a comment if you still have any queries unanswered. Moreover, share this video with your fellows. Until next time.